The JERD Nation Podcast.
All right, guys, we're going to talk about the NFL playoff football with predictions. Going to let everybody talk about the games we talked about. We're going to start with the AFC. Mark, you got the Titans and the Ravens. What do you think?
Well, to be quite honest, I mean, this is going to be a battle of a group of AFC superpower teams. I mean, they've already met one time this year already. The Titans did win in overtime in Baltimore. So this is going to be a really close game, I think. It could go to overtime once again, but it really depends on which a Titans defense shows up. If the Titans defense shows up and can hold Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins in check, I mean, they're going to get their plays. They're going to get their runs. I mean, you can't stop everything. I think the Titans can win. And if they feed Derrick Henry and he goes for over 200 yards again, I don't see any reason why the Ravens can't. The Ravens will fall to the Titans. Definitely for sure. I'm going to go Titans 31, Ravens 28 in this one.
All right, I can get on board with that. I think the Titans, their run game's really hard to stop. I think it's going to give Baltimore some troubles. I definitely agree with you on that one. I thought we've talked about Baltimore. All of us have talked about Baltimore kind of posing all year. So I think this will be, the big test in the playoffs. Cody, what do you think about we got the Steelers and the Browns? How you feeling about that one?
I felt a little more confident for the Browns before the Stefanski news came out. But I don't know. I feel like I legitimately, regardless of whatever the outcome is, I think the Browns are the best team in that division on all sides of the ball. The Steelers, we've all talked about, have kind of been probably at one point, they were the worst 11-0 team I think I've ever seen. I think we could all agree with that. But I think it'll be a close game, man. I really do. It all just comes down to – I don't really know what the score prediction for that one will be for me. I think it'll be a lot closer than what people think, especially considering that they won the last one by, 2?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, man. I'm really proud of Baker for turning around that franchise, and it seems like everyone's finally giving him the respect because, I mean, Sam and I have talked about it a lot on here, that it just seems like anytime the Browns were winning, it was everything but Baker was mentioned. Right. And obviously I like Baker because he played at OU, but that's beside the point. I mean, he clearly was the missing link for that Browns team. So regardless of whatever the outcome is, I think that the Browns are going to go nowhere but up from here. I'm going to still stick with Browns. I'll say the Browns will beat the Steelers.
Well, and I agree. I think the Steelers have been posing all year. I think the Browns are going to show with a chip on their shoulder. I think Baker, he has always played with a chip on his shoulder, and this is the one time in his professional career where the road meets the pavement, and he can show people what he's really got, and so I think I look for big things out of him in that game. I agree with you. I think the Browns are going to win.
Did you know that he has the least amount of interceptions thrown since like week 2? I think he hasn't. I just read a stat about that he's including Rodgers and all them, he has the least amount of interceptions thrown. That's nuts.
And I've said this many, many times, to me, he's more of a Brett Favre type quarterback. He's more of a gunslinger. It took Brett Favre, 4 or 5 years to find some success. Don't count him out. That's all I can say. Don't ever count him out. Tim, you got the Bills and the Colts. What do you feel about that, brother?
Bills and the Colts. Oh, man. It's going to be a good game to watch. That is going to be a very, very good game to watch. Phillip Rivers is the I would say he is the catalyst to that team. He is the stability to that team, I think. Of course, with Jonathan, Taylor in the backfield, they got a good running game. But the Bills, their run defense is good, very good. I love the chemistry between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I still think the Bills pull it out, though. It's going to be a great game to watch. It really is. I don't think it's a coin toss. Say that 5 times fast. I don't think it's going to come to that, but you never know. Especially in playoff football, you just don't know. You've seen different teams during the playoff time just come out and just destroy teams that they didn't do that during the regular season. So, but as far as a prediction, I'm gonna give the Bills a win. It's theirs to lose. Phillip Rivers doesn't play great in the cold weather, and he's out of his element in Buffalo, so that's gonna be a cold game. But I'm gonna give the Bills 38, maybe 40 some points, maybe to 21.
Well, I agree. I think that's going to be the best game of all the games. I think it's going to be real evenly matched. I think it's going to come down to who can run the ball because both are great running teams. But with like what you said, Tim, I think the Bills being a home game, I think that the Colts are going to really struggle up in Buffalo. So I'm with you there. I agree with you. Now we're going to turn over to the NFC. There's some interesting matchups over here. Cody, we'll start with you. We've got the Washington football team versus Tampa Bay number 12s.
I actually think this game will be a little closer than what most people are saying. I think the key for the Bucs is that Brady has to get the ball out of his hands within 1 to 2 seconds, or he's going to get sacked because the Washington football team, they have a really good defense when it comes to that aspect of the game. But yeah, I think it'll be a 10-point game or so. I think Antonio Brown will play a big factor into this game, Godwin as well. And then once they have to start covering them, maybe you'll see Gronkowski and Evans play more of a factor into it. But I would say watch AB in this game personally. I mean, he's been – I said it from the jump when they signed him. I was the only one that said that it was going to be a good signing and that he wouldn't be cancerous. And he seems to have found himself and seems to be in a lot better of a mind state, not such a jackass. But, yeah, I would probably say if I did have to pick, probably like 34-24, somewhere around that range. It all depends on what Tampa Bay team shows up, though, because the way that they've been playing these last few games, they look like a Super Bowl contender. But if they play how they play against the Saints, you don't really know how it'll go. But yeah, I think that game will be a little closer than what people are giving Washington credit for. But you never know. Washington could just be Washington. And, you know, that's the thing, though, is Chase Young opened his mouth and said he wanted Brady. So that usually doesn't end well for people when they start calling out Tom Brady.
Well, and I do agree with you. I know I was joking a little bit about the Washington football team, but they do have probably the best defense in the league. They get after the quarterback. It's actually a really good recipe to beat Tampa Bay. I just don't think they're going to be able to put up the points to do it. So
I agree with you. I don't think they have the stability at quarterback.
For sure.
I was going to say a lot of it. If they do score, it won't be because of the offense. It'll be because of how bad that Bucs defense can be at times. But I don't know, man. I just, I feel good. Like I feel happy for Alex Smith to be able to play again. But I don't think that he's the answer.
Mark, the Seahawks and the Rams. What do you got there?
I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. This is their third time they'll be playing this year, and it all depends on if Jared Goff could play, because I know Jared Goff did injure his thumb, and he wasn't able to go in the last the last game of the season. It all depends on that injury, of how it was on his throwing hand. So it all depends on how that injury heals. Even if Goff would play, I don't foresee a way that they can take down the Seahawks. I don't see it, but stranger things have happened. But I think it's really going to come down to if Goff plays. It'll be a lot closer. but in the end, I think Seattle will take it.
Well, and I don't know. I think that's an interesting game too, just because it could really go either way. I think if Golf plays, I think the Rams will hand Seattle their butts. Just got a feeling about it. Seattle's been so inconsistent to me. Their defense is so inconsistent. I just don't think if they win, I don't think they win out of the round. So that's kind of my take on that. But that's definitely one of the better games in the NFC.
Jared Goff's weird because he shows up for games he shouldn't, and then he totally shits the bed in the big games. I mean, you never really know what you're going to get with him.
And that's for sure. And then lastly in the NFC, we got the Saints and the Bears. Tim, who you like there?
Easy Saints. First of all, the Cowboys. God, the Chicago Bears are the Chicago Bears. They're 8-8. The only reason they're in on the 7th seed is because it's a COVID year. That's the only reason. They're just not. They don't even know who they are right now. So, but I'll give Trubisky. He has been playing better since he came back from that 6-game straight losses or whatever, and then they put Nick Foles in. He's back. Trubisky has been a lot better, but still, I don't think they have really established their own identity. So the Saints, but the problem with the Saints have a lot of weapons. They are a complete team. They really are. But the problem with the Saints is sometimes they get caught up playing to their competition, and it's like almost like Jared Goff. It's either they'll blow somebody out or they'll just barely beat somebody or barely lose to somebody. But I'm gonna give that score is 31-17 Saints. Man, I'm just gonna. You got Breeze back there at the helm. You got Kamara. You got just so many weapons, offensively and defensively. So yeah, 31-17, man.
No, and I can get on board with that. I think when you're struggling to find out who your starting quarterback is and struggling to find your identity, the playoffs is probably not the best place to do that. So it's when you're playing against a veteran like Breeze, you're going to have a hard time winning when you don't even know who your quarterback's going to be. So I get on board with that. Overall, guys, what do you think? You like our picks?
Yeah,
Titans,
yeah.
Browns, Bills, Bucks, Seahawks, Saints.
Yeah,
I think that's a safe bet.
Solid.
Yeah, that Seahawks and Rams game is going to be very, very tricky.
Yeah, I could see it going either way. It just really depends on if Jared Goff plays. That's what it's going to come down to.
They're even, but most likely it's going to be Seattle. Most likely.
Yeah.